Mike's on. Megan, would you please read the statement of presiding officer?
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting, specifically the time, date, and public call-in information, were included in the meeting that was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel and posted on the township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. A public comment period will be held in the order it is listed on the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Megan. Please, everybody, rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Megan, please take roll.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Here.
Committeeman Ray?
Present.
Committeeman Verleza?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Here.
Mayor Paserchia?
Present. First on the agenda is ordinance, first reading, 533-24, ordinance concerning security at public meetings and supplementing and amending Chapter 3 of the Township Code entitled Police Regulations. Jack, you want to give a brief?
Yes, this was recommended by the County Prosecutor's Office. It allows, but it does not require Township Committee, Planning Board, Zoning Board to require that all people present at a meeting go through the metal detector and have their bag searched. But it's not mandatory, but it allows them. And the police department checked with the prosecutor's office, and they suggested we pass an ordinance allowing that.
By way of example, the Township Committee would, if there's a, how do you say that word, magnanimous?
I say metal detector.
Metal detector. If there's a metal detector at the door, I can say that. The Township Committee would in fact.
Every member of the board or the Township Committee also has to go through the same.
Just as the public does.
Correct.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Ordinance 530-24, this is second reading, so we will have a public comment period this evening. This is a salary and wage ordinance. We added 2 positions, Public Safety Director and Executive Assistant to the Public Safety Director. Any comments, questions from the committee? Hearing none, I'll open it to the public. Seeing none present, Megan, is there anybody online?
If anybody on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. Looking for a motion to approve ordinance 530-24, second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Abstain.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Ordinance, second reading, 531-24, an ordinance creating the position of Public Safety Director, naming the Director of Public Safety as the appropriate authority, and supplementing and amending Chapter 2 of the Township Code entitled Administration. Jack, I'll let you just give a very brief.
Yeah, this ordinance does 2 things. It authorizes it creates the position of Civilian Public Safety Director, which is really the administrative head of the police department. He's not a chief. He doesn't have law enforcement powers. And it also makes the Director of Public Safety the appropriate authority, which is a term used in state law concerning police departments and who they report to, who adopts the regulations. Robert Falzarano, in his report, said that the Township Committee was an inappropriate authority. So those are the 2 main things that this ordinance does.
Thank you, Jack. So, members of the Township Committee, if you have comments or questions. Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing on this ordinance only, ordinance 531-24.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Charles Renowitz, Millington. I sent an email on Saturday, January 27th to the mayor and deputy mayor. Let me read from that. I've read the report, the Long Hill Township Police Department assessment 2 times. I went back and reread the Long Hill Township Police Department risk assessment from MRI. That being said, I've not seen the analysis of the 3 alternatives identified in the Long Hill Township Police Department assessment. Without a recommendation on the best option for the Long Hill Township taxpayer, nor any financial analysis by the author, those options are remain independent, joint meeting, and 3 shared services. On January 27th, in an email, I requested your financial analysis of these 3 options and your conclusions for reaching your decision in the best benefit to the Long Hill taxpayer and saving the Long Hill Township taxpayer dollars. In my 40 years as a professional consulting partner with one of the largest professional services firms in the world, with some of my clients being the New York City Fire Department, the New York City Police Department, and the Phoenix Fire Department. I said I'm especially looking forward to your analysis of these presented options. I might add that most of my professional consulting experience surrounding shared services has resulted in a successful financial analysis of utilizing the shared services option in all cases. So I'd like to see, since you didn't respond to my email, what is the financial analysis of these 3 options that were presented in the report by Mr. Falzarano?
So,
Yeah, I can
Deputy
take
Mayor
that.
Lavender, would you mind responding?
So first off, option number 1 is the status quo option. And the other 2 options are non-deterministic at this time because there isn't enough data on those in terms of information coming from the outside, other towns with which to cooperate. Those options were presented simply as that, as options. And when we hire the right executive to come in and run things, we'll find out which way we need to go. But the one thing that is clear is we're pursuing option 1 as a prerequisite to any other of the other 2 options. That's why they're called options.
So there's no financial analysis based on your decision, is that correct?
It's premature to have a financial analysis at this time.
There weren't any in the report. On Monday, January 29th, I sent a second email to the mayor and deputy mayor. I'll just read the opening paragraph. Please find attached an article of the availability of $7.5 million for shared services grant funding by the state of New Jersey. In this article that I attached for you, it's through the Local Efficiency Achievement Program called LEAP, and it was administered by will be administered by the Division of Local Government Services. This is a quote from Governor Murphy. Quote, helping our communities and New Jersey residents achieve savings through shared services is a primary goal of the Murphy administration in this department. In 1922, up until 1922, Harding was part of this township. I see no reason why you should not have pursued, as was in the report, a shared services option between the police department of Harding and the police department of local township, looking at the best interests of the taxpayer in terms of dollars and safety. I recommend to you tonight, since I've seen no financial analysis other than we're going to hire a director, top out at 235 of public safety, and an assistant at 190. That doesn't appear to be cost effective to the taxpayer. So what I'm recommending you tonight is that you defer a decision on this ordinance and look at the $7.5 million that's available free of charge to opportunities like this to look at shared services. You mentioned at last meeting, a number of you touted your fiscal responsibility being so great. Based on what I'm hearing tonight and unresponsiveness to my emails, I don't get that feeling. And at the last meeting, a resident was concerned about trust. And she couldn't trust
Could you
you.
wrap up? This is a
Sure,
public comment.
sure.
Get to the question.
She couldn't trust you. I recommend, if you want to build that trust, you defer this decision, use some of the $7.5 million, and get the best option for the Long Hill Township taxpayer. Thank you for your time and your fiscal responsibilities.
Just one comment. You don't have to stay up if you don't want to. We're very familiar with the shared services program at the state level. Nick Platt and Jordan Glatt are the czars. I know them very
They're from
well.
one's from Harding.
You've spoken for 10 minutes now.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I know them very well. I've spoken to the governor about the shared services. As far as Harding, we're well aware where they are situated and when they left part of being Long Hill Township. Conversations regarding Harding are confidential. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, just other than the fact that we need to hire the person that's going to come in and help us run this. And the other options are very interesting options. And, you know, we're not that far apart from where you're thinking. So thank you.
That's fair. Okay, we're still in public comment on this ordinance.
Pamela Ogins Millington. Going through Mr. Falzarano's report, like Mr. Rentowitz, I read the entire report. Having also reviewed the MRI report, and if it's helpful, I can refer to some questions as far as pages. On page 11, there's a comparison of overtime expenditures, and I'm wondering why overtime was so low in 2022 and if this is reproducible. So I'd like to see expansion from Mr. Falzarano on why overtime decreased to $7,324 in the police department in 2022 versus the preceding years of 2015 to 2021 of exceeding $50,000. That's commendable. So maybe he could expand on that and just let's keep it where it is and not have it go up the way it was prior to 2022.
Hey, Pam. Yeah, it's interesting that you keyed in on that because I do remember this coming up in the conversations with Bob, but I don't remember the answer. So if you want to send Guy and I an email, happy to get you an answer, but I wish I had the detail.
That's fine. I can do that. Page 19, this is probably just clerical. It is just clerical, but the title on line item 24 is Annual Written Officer Performance Evaluations, but the context after that actually includes the officers, the sergeants, and the lieutenants. So my recommendation would be to change the title to just read Annual Written Performance Evaluations, since it includes more than just the officers. It also has the sergeants and the lieutenants in the discussion below that. On page 31, there's a comparison of motor vehicle crashes, COVID year 2020 compared with year 2021. I'm not sure why those years were chosen, since we know that there was a lot of a barren season 2020 with it being a quote COVID year. Would have liked to have seen a comparison of pre-COVID to post-COVID motor vehicle crashes for a more meaningful data comparison.
I'm not sure I understand you on that.
The years, this is on page 31,
Yeah.
in Mr. Falzaranos. He compares COVID year 2020 with
Yeah.
the next year, 2021, for motor vehicle crashes, and it looks like a substantial increase. However, when you compare it to 2019, which was pre-COVID and more, quote, normal, to 2022,
I
which
see
was
what you're
post,
saying. Yeah.
that there's not that huge increase. It's a little misleading when you look
Uh,
at it.
Yeah. I mean,
Since
I understand, it's a spreadsheet, and the percentage looks like it's a
Year to
bigger
year.
move than it is. You really have to look at total crashes, the absolute number.
and several years, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
On pages 25 and 27, appreciated that there's a lot of example charts. What I thought would be helpful to have would be some chart with comparison of response times. There is on page 58 where it says, quote, calls for service are answered in a timely manner. Would like to see that quantified. What's a timely manner? So you have a way to compare. If indeed that turns out to be something that's going to be monitored here out.
Yeah, and that might run into a statistic that the police wouldn't want to have out.
Response time?
Yeah,
Seriously?
don't you think?
It's reported all the time in New York City.
In terms of actual,
Response
Seconds, minutes?
times. Yeah, I mean, they
Okay.
compare it to their staffing and.
okay, then I'm
Things like-
corrected, but I would defer.
But, and I would look
yeah.
into mine further too. That was my understanding. And maybe you could just put it in a more nebulous fashion of improved versus is a challenge.
Yeah, you're quantitative instead of qualitative. I
Yeah.
have you. Yep.
That's a possibility. Finally, on page 58, paragraph number 3, it starts with the delivery of police services provided by the Long Hill Township Police Department is excellent. I am in full agreement with improvements, challenges, however you want to phrase it, that are needed in developing goals and objectives and the achievements versus the challenges in a consistent, structured performance evaluation system with performance improvement plan, a timely data collection reports, better communication and staff meetings and things of that nature. And it is, in my opinion, if we have a proven, experienced, qualified chief of police, I did not see clear evidence, and I have compared the job descriptions, if you will, of the chief of police and the public safety director. The need for an undetermined amount of time to employ a public safety director at the salary stated previously. If, however, we had a paid fire department, a paid EMS, ambulance service, paid, well, we do have a paid part-time OEM, in addition to having the police department report to this public safety director, that would be a whole different situation. But we do not have a paid fire department or ambulance EMS. An alternative I see to having a public safety director hired, which to me seems like more administrative and executive, and shares the first 5 job description responsibilities with the chief of police. The chief of police now seems to be much more a day-to-day operations responsibilities versus the more administrative and executive, which would be under the domain of the public safety director. So two things that I ask you to consider are, one, if this chief of police is going to be day-to-day operations, that you reconsider the salary. It certainly is not as administrative or executive, so shouldn't command the same salary as when those responsibilities were more under the chief of police. The next and final statement that I want to make is in the responsibilities for the public safety director, point number 3, where it reads, the public safety director shall serve for a term established by the township committee at the time of appointment. I'm not unfamiliar with such an arrangement. I worked in a corporation where anyone who was hired at a director level or above had a paid mentor, had a paid facilitator for the term of 1 year, the first year of their employment. Rather than to leave this open-ended, I feel that adequate consideration should be given to a 1-year term, and then let's reassess where we are. After we have, if you want to start the clock running when you have a chief of police hired, give them 1 year, goals, objectives, challenges, achievements, all that in collaboration, working with the public safety director. Do we still need someone and an administrative assistant for that person at that salary after 1 year's time of getting a chief of police operational and hopefully assuming more administrative and executive responsibilities? Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Pat.
Karen Nyquist, and I'm in Millington. Excuse me, and I'm speaking here as a private citizen. Many of the comments that I was going to make were made by the previous speaker. The big one is, in comparison of the responsibilities, like she said, and under the situation that's set up, I don't see who would want to be a chief of police in Long Hill, because you wouldn't be acting as a chief of police. I would like to say, maybe we hire a retired chief of police to be an interim, like you hired an interim administrator, and do a very deep search for a good chief of police if we don't have somebody that we can promote from within. I would rather see the money spent in that way. I did a little bit of research, and in some of the cities, like it was pointed out, that other cities that have much lower salary for the same title, that people have a lot of help and a lot of people under them. They do, actually. Between Jersey City, Hoboken, excuse me, and Patterson, the span of control of the director of public safety was between 5 and 9. Our span of control is 1. No, actually 2. You can count the administrative assistant, but he only has 2. Also, with that span of control, those individuals that report to the public safety person have a number of employees under them. The bottom line is they really all report to that director of public safety. In terms of general organizational structure, I mean, I can't think of one, I should say, viable company that would have this 1-to-2 ratio, especially at the salary that's there. I would also like to ask and get reassured that all of the members of the police department were queried about what they see as being needed for them to be, I guess, better, for them not only to be better individually, but to be better as a department, and get their input as to what is really needed. In terms of shared services, I'll just say, and a group that I'm with, we have a couple of shared services arrangements with other towns that are working so well. It almost puts you on a high how well it's working. I mean, that's all I can say. And lastly, the last time I was here, I got up a second time at the end. You were gracious enough to allow me to get up, even though you said it was late. However, it was very unfortunate that, in the comments that I made, while I was still here and actually talking, several people turned to each other. You got up and you talked, and I thought it was very unprofessional and very disrespectful.
Well, the other organization you referenced, I think we all know what you're referring to, the Wallkill School Board. Public comment, I think we just allowed you to speak longer than the entire public comment period at the school board. Right? 15 minutes, I believe, is the school board public comment.
It
3 minutes per, 5 people speak. If the 6th person wants to speak, they cannot speak. We've never cut you off. You're beyond 3 minutes now.
Well, I have to say this, yes, we do say that in the opening remarks. However, only when we had like 50 people at a meeting that all wanted to comment, maybe pre-COVID, 4 or 5 years ago, did we restrict it to 3 minutes each. We do not really restrict the public.
Do you answer questions during public comment?
That's not appropriate at the meeting. That's not the guideline for how the meeting is answered. If the president decides that a question can be answered, she'll refer it to the person that can, whether it be the BA, a
Will
committee
they
chair.
answer it in the public session?
Excuse me?
Will they answer the question during public comment?
Depending on what the question is and depending on if the information is available and if the person or the information is available, the person who can
You've
answer it
answered
is
my
available.
question. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I don't understand why I was asked about that, but that's all right.
Any other member of the public who would like to speak?
Good evening, Joe Ferrandino, 623 Chestnut Street. Sorry for coming in late. I really don't know what this is about, but going on what was discussed last session as far as the need for another layer of government in our small town, is that what I'm allowed to speak on right now? Okay. When I discussed with other people about this public safety director, it seems like the MRI report created the pathway to another layer of government that this small town of ours really doesn't need. So, in my humble opinion, if everybody on this dais did their job, there would be no need to have another layer of government, especially after I found out that some of the people here who have been appointed do not have all of the qualifications that they were appointed for. Mr. Randy Barr, that's who I'm speaking of, okay? I don't mean to be insulting. That's not my point. I'm just saying that you took the place of Mrs. Malou, who had the alphabet soup title of PQF or whatever it was, and I would like to know why you were appointed to have this job when you do not have her qualifications. Later on down the road,
What
I discussed
qualifications are we referring to?
what's it?
This is nothing-
Qualified
nothing to do
public.
with this ordinance.
Oh,
Okay.
that's why I asked. I'm sorry. I apologize. It has nothing to do with
All
the
right, so
ordinance. Forgive me,
I'm sorry, I didn't
please.
realize that's where you were going. All right, so we'll wait for public comment at the
Okay,
end.
very well. Thank you very
That's
much.
fair. You did say you didn't know what we were talking about.
That's what I started. Thank you.
No problem, Joe. Sorry about that. That's fine. Any other member of the public in the courtroom? Seeing none, Megan at home.
Marianne Noonan's raising her hand.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, okay. I just have a couple of comments.
Would you mind stating your name and, I'm sorry for cutting you off. Would you mind stating your name and address, please?
Sure. It's Marianne Noonan, 110 Lackawanna Boulevard in Gillette.
Thank you.
Okay? I just want to make reference. There's a couple points that I noted previously and also upon my fellow residents going up to speak. First of all, with regards to a public safety director, in terms of shared services, this level is not equivalent to any other level of shared services. It's an at-risk level, in my opinion. Okay? And I'm just going to now try to explain what I just stated. For everyone who has been following or has not been following, Warren Township, our neighbor, their police department was recently taken over by Somerset County and by the prosecutor's office. Okay? So the question is, in my own opinion, this is where I am pointing at, if we make a decision with regards to shared services with other townships, we could be putting ourselves at risk because we don't know the nuances with reference to what occurred in Warren. If you read the echoes,
Yes, I
The
did read that
echoes-
article, Marianne.
the echoes basically outlines what occurred. Okay, and it's still under investigation. But personally, I cannot see this being part of shared services. That's my humble opinion right now. You know, we're at risk by aligning with other townships that are under investigation. Now, this seems to be apparently what is going on statewide. And that to me is very critical. And the last thing is, you know, when we're talking about another layer of government within the municipality, the way things tend to be going, do we really want to position ourselves where Morris County could take us over? Okay, and you know, with all the new rules and regulations coming out, the need for a public safety director is mandated, in my humble opinion. Again, it seems like the way the workings of our state legislature is going currently, they may be looking, for all I know, the way things are going, possibly to take over our police departments. Now, that could be very speculative, but, you know, when you have your state controller touting on social media with the video, a broadcast of one of the police officers in Warren Township, okay, that's an issue. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Marianne, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne.
Anybody else online, I should say?
Anybody else on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Thank you. So the public portion is now closed, and I am looking for a motion on second reading for 532-24, an ordinance concerning Township Committee. Oh, no, I apologize. I jumped ahead there now, didn't I?
531.
531-24, an ordinance creating the position of Director of Public Safety.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Recused.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Okay, now we're up to ordinance 532-24, second reading again, an ordinance concerning Township Committee liaisons and supplementing and amending Chapter 2 of the Township Code entitled Administration. Essentially, this is eliminating township liaisons for township departments, paid departments. So the departments will now report directly to our administrator, Randy Barr. Any questions, comments from the township committee?
And the
Yeah,
police department, oh, I'm sorry, I was gonna say the police department will report to the appropriate authority.
Correct. So just to refine your wording on that, it's not that they didn't report to Randy before, but it removes the ambiguity of a liaison being on equal footing with Randy.
Thank you.
A man can only serve one master.
Okay. I don't know what that voice, it sounded like the voice of God there for a second. So any comments beyond Mr. Lavender correcting my English? No?
Your English stands to be corrected, but your diction is perfect.
All right. So at this point, I'd like to open up the public hearing on ordinance 532-24. So just the ordinance that we just described.
Which was what?
Well, the ordinance concerning township liaisons.
But once you have this director of public safety,
No, we're beyond that. This
I
is,
know, but I'm saying,
Mike.
once you have that, there's no need for liaisons, no?
Let's,
From
Robert,
now on, it goes to the
point of order. Let's do this in order, please.
I'm sorry.
all right. So public comment, I see a gentleman coming to the mic.
Charles Arenowitz, Millington. I sent you all an email on Thursday, January 25th about this ordinance. Let me reiterate what I recommended to you in case you didn't have the opportunity to read my email. 1, I recommend adding written monthly liaison reports under Section 1, Paragraph 2-2, 4B. Number 2, I recommend in the same paragraph, the liaison will attend all, I emphasize all, board, commission, or committee meetings. My rationale for both these recommendations are to eventually get to the avenue. I know we said we don't like to follow other towns. At the last meeting, we said we're Long Hill, we're different. But I think some of our other towns have this worked out. What I would like to see is that when we produce the agendas, we also produce these written liaison reports so the residents of this town can read it in advance and come in here prepared for an intelligent discussion. The second thing is about attending all meetings. I realize that it's pressing times, but it's an opportunity for you to interact with all the boards and the committees and the advisory committees. I think that's important. Realize you might not be able to make them all, but let's stress as a goal and objective to try to make all the meetings so you can better understand some of the issues that are going on and just not getting a written report. Hopefully you'll make these changes tonight. I didn't get any response from my email on January 25th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Arentowitz. Any other members of the public here in the courtroom for public comment on this ordinance? Seeing none. Megan, anybody at home?
Anybody on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Thank you, Megan. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion for ordinance 532-24, second reading. Ordinance concerning Township Committee liaisons and supplementing and amending Chapter 2 of the Township Code entitled Administration.
So moved.
Second?
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Yes, thank you, Megan. Consent agenda, that's number 4. So that's 24-057, 24-073. Any resolutions that a member of the committee would like to pull or, I know, abstain? Or recuse, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself, Mayor, from 24066, 069, 070, and 073. Might be easier to
Bingo.
list the ones that.
Bingo? Okay, any other recusals or to be pulled for further comment or questions? All right, so looking for a motion, 24-057 to -073 with the recusals by Brendan as stated.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Yes. Okay, so liaison reports. Vic, you look like you're just
Ready to
bursting at
go.
the seams.
He's primed.
The floor is yours.
He's like a coiled spring
right.
over here.
All right, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. The rec report for February 14th is as follows. The Recreation Advisory Committee will meet again on February 20th. Among the items we are working on, pickleball court play and rules for reserving the court, selection of bands for the 2024 Dog Days of Summer concert series, policy update / Recreation Committee membership requirements. Also, just before this meeting tonight, the Recreation Department held a Valentine's Day special virtual bingo, and supposedly there was a lot of hearty fun. I can never land those, but Slide 2. Given that everyone was home from school yesterday, did you create any special snow sculptures? Enter our contest by going on to Community Pass and uploading a photo of your creation. Deadline to enter is March 15th. Prizes for our judges' favorite sculptures, and it is a free entry. Register now for our community CPR AED Red Cross class, February 28th, 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. $32 per person. Register on Community Pass, and the class size is limited. We just started another session of 6 classes of yoga with Aubrey Reichert Eline. This session will go through March 25th, and we'll follow it, and we will follow it up with another spring session of yoga. More information is available on the website. Classes are held at the Old Millington Schoolhouse. We're getting ready for spring and recreation. Be sure to visit the website and download our free spring activity packet. The packet contains puzzles, activities, coloring pages, crafts, and much more fun. All right. Mark your calendars now for our annual spring egg hunt, Saturday, March 23rd from 10 a.m. sharp at Cantor Park. Snow date will be March 30th. The egg hunt for Long Hill children ages 8 and under, petting zoo, pony rides, and the Chamber of Commerce adult egg hunt. And to wrap it up, the Recreation Advisory Committee is always looking for new members. If you are interested, please contact the Rec Department. And that concludes my liaison report. Again, happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Thank you, Vic.
You're welcome.
Brendan, yeah, that's a tough act to follow. You probably just.
I'll just give a quick update
Oh,
on
I
the.
apologize.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
I know. You should have turned
should've
to
gone-
exactly. Turn to Matt. No, just a quick update on the passing of the baton of leadership there at the planning board. Don Richardson was elected chairman, as you know, Mayor. You were there to see it, and Tom Jones is vice chair. So we thank Dennis for, I think, 3 years of leadership as chairman. He did a stellar job, but and Don is going to do the exact same. So that's my report for PB.
Thank you, Brendan. Matt?
Yes, all right. Fire department has 37 calls to date, which is almost one a day, so they're very busy, which is good. Good thing nothing bad has happened. So starting this week, one member from Millington and one from Sterling each started Fire 1. So we'll have two more, hopefully in a couple months, fully functioning firemen, or women for that matter. And two members of Sterling and one from Millington recently started Firefighter 2, which is an advanced class, and I think that trains for leadership positions as well, Brendan?
Yep, that's right.
So
Yep.
that's another good thing we got going on over there. One of the new fire engines from Sterling, I believe it's the pumper truck, should arrive in mid to late March, so that should be out and running in a month or so. And most importantly, the venison dinner, March 9th, 6 o'clock, Al? 6 o'clock venison dinner. Get your tickets early because it's a big event. It sells out quickly. So see any firemen or firewomen, check their website or Facebook page. They'll get you in contact how to buy tickets. But it's excellent and it's a good time, so please buy your tickets. Next, the Senior Center swore in new officers about a week and a half ago, so congratulations to the new officers at the Senior Center. There was a very good turnout. Almost every table was full. And then special thanks to the PBA. Officer Garessi's back there, and you read the newspaper, it looks like he organized the race. But it was his partner, Detective Novotny. But the PBA did an excellent job. I think almost every member of the department was there, helping out in some capacity. Had an excellent turnout. I knew people that ran it. Our Farron Fox from the DPW was there running it. And also our municipal prosecutor, Lisa Thompson, came to run it. The turnout, how many did you have, 440 runners? Yeah, approximately 440 runners. And considering it was February, that's pretty good. So they want to make this an annual event. I think this public supported it. And hopefully we do another one next year and we get nice weather again. So great job by the PBA. And thank you to all the runners that came out and made the day enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Scott?
Nothing here.
Thank you. So just a couple of quick updates. We spoke a couple of meetings back about what is called WRDA, WRDA. It's the Water Resources Development Act it was passed in December 22, signed by President Biden early in 23. It was $7.5 million that was allocated to Long Hill Township. There's been some questions as to what it can be used for. We're still discussing what that can be. But we're starting to narrow it down. Randy's going to reach out via our engineer to the Army Corps. And if we have to tweak the original application a little bit, we will. But I wanted to give a very brief update there. I know it's still vague, but we're getting closer to getting a definitive answer. One thing
This is based on the conversation you had with Tom Kane's office.
I apologize. I had an extensive conversation yesterday with Congressman Kane's staff, and they're going to work with us to really pin down what we can use that money for. One thing I've refrained from commenting in public about, but based on events over the last couple of weeks, I don't know that I want to hold my tongue anymore. What has happened nationally to our law enforcement men and women is a disgrace. And I want to make it exceedingly clear here in public tonight. We support the Long Hill Township Police men and women. We want to empower them, I think we do, and support them in any way we can to help them execute their sworn duty to protect the residents of Long Hill Township and to protect themselves. The police department here in Long Hill, they have signs. You've seen them around town. There's been a sign on my lawn since March of 2020. Long time, nearly four years. The signs are free. You can pick them up at the police department, or if you see a police officer, you see him here tonight. you can mention. They will drop off that sign. They are free. They are willing to accept a donation to the PBA if you're so inclined. But either way, I think they'd be happy to give you that sign. And I want to thank, we have two officers here tonight. Thank you for the job you do. Please thank your colleagues. And this ends at least in Walk Hill Township. The only thing, when I was younger, my father said there's only one thing you say to a police officer. Yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. That's all you say, and thank you. Anybody abuses an officer in this town, that will not be accepted. All right. Sorry, Randy. That's okay. Back to you.
I got a report from the DPW. DPW is continuing on the pothole repairs along Long Hill Road. They've repaired quite a bit of potholes during this winter season. They're continuing with dead tree removal. It's fitting in between their other duties during the winter months. They've been continuing with catch basin and inlet inspections and cleaning, and have done repairs to the old schoolhouse. Styrofoam shared services has been a great process material once a week, sometimes two. It's been a great recycling program. We've had other towns get involved with our recycling program, and it's been a very good success. Al Gallo wanted to acknowledge the great work the guys did yesterday on the storm. We got about 8 inches of snow, and the team got done with the roads in township properties and sidewalks by 5:30. I want to thank Al for his leadership and the guys in Public Works. As all of you know, this storm was not a good storm to shovel. It was a wet snow, very heavy. It takes a toll on equipment and the guys' backs and everything else. So thank you, Al. We appreciate you guys getting out there and getting everything done. And to be done by 5:30 p.m., that was excellent. I know the snow stopped sometime earlier than that, but it was a great work. I'd like to also reiterate in this next comment, Al wanted to thank the Long Hill Police for helping with parked cars on roadways. It is not permissible to park cars on the roadways during snow-covered roads. It's a township ordinance, and please do not. It causes problems for snow plowing, delays the snow plowing operations, and you can get ticketed and towed. So do not park on the roads when it is slow mention. That's all I have for Public Works. As far as finance and administration, we're working on the 2024 municipal budget and capital budgets. And moving forward with that, we should probably have an introduction of the budget sometime in March. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Randy. We have one item, number 7, on your agenda for discussion items, special events, mobile food trucks. Jack, I don't know if you wanted to give a brief update from where we were at the last meeting.
Yes, Mayor, both of these ordinances were meant to engender discussion because they haven't been seen or discussed by the Township Committee before. The first one is to regulate food trucks. I tried to make the substance of this ordinance reflect the discussion that was had at the Township Committee with the owner of the brewery. In response to Mr. Verleza's recommendation, I made it 3 nights a week. Now, I put certain restrictions in there, and you'll see I highlighted them in the ordinance. As I say, the entire thing needs to be discussed and marked up. I know that Megan and Randy have gone through it and marked it up. Same is true with the special event ordinance. Part of the rationale for that is to make it reflect current practice. The other ordinance was around a long time, and it really wasn't followed. So I tried to clarify the definition of special event and made it more something that would require police and fire presence or first aid presence rather than the old definition, which really didn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's the background on them. There's some overlap because, you know, we can allow food trucks at special events and not make them subject to the same restrictions as the general food truck ordinance.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions from the committee,
I
comments?
just have one question, Jacobson, on page under, it is on.
Which ordinance, John?
Oh,
Matt?
the
Sorry.
food ordinance one.
Okay,
Where is it, temporary food, it's on the, I guess, the third page, it says, E, they're not allowed to be within 200 feet of a brick and mortar retail food establishment.
yeah, well, that's why I highlighted that.
Oh, no, I have no problem with that. If you make it that it's open at the time,
Right,
because,
good
yeah, if
point.
somebody's closed, it doesn't matter. For example, like Millington Station Cafe, they close, I think, at 3 o'clock.
Right,
Or say, technically could be there and just not open, it could be closed for a certain amount of time, so,
right,
all right.
understood.
Jack, going off those lines, the one that we're approving, Cousins Maine Food Lobster in the Sterling Fine Wines parking lot, are they not allowed to do that? Because
Tie ties there.
Thai Thai and O Bagel
Bagel.
would be
No.
in there and they'd be operating.
I mean, this provision doesn't have to be in here. I threw in as much as I could, thinking, you know, you could revise it or delete it or, you know, add other things. As I say, it was meant to engender discussion.
I see that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for the public's knowledge, this conversation started because the
Please read.
brewery, in my opinion, very correctly, wanted to have food access for their patrons. It's certainly not to compete with the Millington Cafe. If the Millington Cafe were to remain open into the evening, I don't think the request for the food trucks would have come before this committee. So we're not trying to compete with open food establishments.
Good point.
So anyway, that's the context.
What if the food establishment was okay with the truck being there
I was just going to suggest that, without the consent
without the
of
consent of
Right,
blah, blah, blah?
If that food establishment is open,
right,
not if it's closed,
doesn't
it's
matter.
not their option.
But if it's open with their
Yep.
consent.
So a couple thoughts that I had looking through this.
Sure.
On page 2, letter B, it calls for a license for a maximum of 90 days. Being that there's inspections being done on these trucks, would it make sense to have a 1-year license? And the next C is outlining the fee of $100. I mean, if you make it a 1-year license, you can adjust the fee accordingly. But for 90 days, I think, 3 months is, all of our licenses are done on a yearly basis. We have the tree companies on a yearly basis, so it kind of makes sense to have it on a yearly basis. This way, it's not an undue burden of trying to keep track of all the trucks with every 90 days to do a renewal. Also, I'll go through my comments if you don't mind.
Can I make
please.
a comment on that?
Sure.
And how about if you make it coterminous with the end of the year?
Correct.
Calendar
Certainly.
year, that's a good idea.
Yep, within the calendar year, yeah. That would work
So-
perfectly.
So if you get it in June, it's for 6 months or
Right.
7 months, right? Got it.
So down on 4-7.4, and it prohibits it's permitted in these non-residential zones. Now, question going through this, what if I'm a resident and I decide to have a food truck or a company I have used in the past is Dave's Backyard Barbecue, come to my house and do a barbecue or something like that? Can we add something where it can be utilized in a residential zone, if it's a private party or something to that effect?
We could add that to section 4-7.5 exemptions.
So it'd be like a block party.
Could be a block party, could be just an individual backyard party. I
big
know,
party.
depending on the size of your property, backyard property may not be viable, but absolutely, Deputy Mayor, a block party where, people don't want to barbecue or something, they could bring in a truck or something. But that would be under a special events permit for the block parties, because they're probably going to be utilizing closing of road and so forth, so, but yeah, like a private party on
That's what
private
this is.
property.
And are there restrictions how often they can do that?
Yeah. I would
Certainly.
think.
Certainly.
And what do you think would be a reasonable limitation on those types?
I mean, I don't think we want to discourage somebody who, like the screen truck that goes to residences for private parties. I don't think, we're not talking about limiting that, are we?
No,
No.
they're part of the exemption.
Got
Yeah,
it. So
ice
we
cream
want to
vendors are exempt.
okay, cool.
Basically, you don't want an Airbnb having a
Right.
Dave's Famous
At a
every
restaurant out
weekend.
front.
Exactly.
Got it.
You know, maybe a couple of times a year, I don't know, 3, 4,
4.
whatever, you know, somewhere between 2 and 4. Most people, I would think, would only have a barbecue once that would require a food truck or something like that, or maybe twice, I don't know.
2 times a year without township committee approval, if you want to have it more?
I think 4 should cover it, no?
Four?
Yeah, seasonally, 4 every
Okay.
3 months.
And for the public, we're not passing it in tonight. This is
No,
just
no,
a
this is discussion.
talk.
There will be a first reading, there will be a second reading. My immediate reaction is, I don't know about that. We're going down a bit of a rabbit hole. We started out with a food truck for a brewery, and now we've got food trucks.
Remember, this is gonna address food trucks.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Not
I
food
know.
trucks for a
Yeah,
specific.
and once we
property.
allow for the brewery, we can't arbitrarily deny
Correct.
everywhere
Correct.
else.
We're trying to, you know, Megan and I sat down and we went through this today, trying to figure out, you know, it's difficult to figure out every kind of instance that could ever happen, but we're trying to tighten it up, and so,
That's why ordinances get amended as time goes by.
right. So,
What page you on, which I?
page 3, letter I.
Got it.
Talks about establishments shall not obstruct or interfere with free flow of vehicle and pedestrian traffic. Now, we do have a sidewalk ordinance that I'll tie this in with letter P on page 4, where we're prohibiting certain things of chairs, umbrellas, grills, generators, extension cords, tents, pop-ups, flags, so forth, no furniture or tables. Now, we had one instance where a pizza truck came in and it wasn't, I guess the best way to explain it was more of a trailer, not a truck. And it wasn't an inside trailer, so the pizza oven, you addressed it from the outside. They had tables set up not only to serve the public their pizzas, but obviously for protection, so nobody got close enough to the pizza oven. You know, I think we don't want to discourage that. On the other hand, they should not impede the flow of pedestrian or traffic likewise.
Wouldn't that fall under like a special event license?
Well, food trailers are discussed here.
I'm
So
not-
the tables aren't for people sitting at or anything. They're just, if you will, blockades to keep people
Oh,
away
okay.
from.
I don't think P would prohibit that, Randy, because it says shall be placed outside or attached to any sign, light pole, tree, or similar object. It doesn't seem to prohibit a fold-down table that comes off the truck or the trailer, or whatever.
But
Well,
if
it wouldn't come
doesn't-
off it.
Yeah.
It'd be an
Separate.
actual table
Oh,
set
okay.
up against the, like a.
Oh, I
If you
understand.
think about it, a U-shaped, 3 tables set
Right.
up so to keep people away from the area where they're cooking. Again, something, you know, to throw out there and we could discuss it.
Yep. Valid point.
The letter L, I guess I'm not envisioning this right. It says no lighting shall be provided except that localized lighting may be used on or in the temporary mobile retail. So I get that. So what if there's like colorful lights that are on the truck that they light up?
Do we
Is
want-
that, would that be prohibited, or would that be acceptable because it's an attachment, it's on the truck itself?
Could that be for menu illumination though? Considered for that?
This was,
Do we want lighted?
well, and again, I'm just, I'm just,
Christmas around there.
Yeah, yeah.
like, for instance, like a green LED lighting to attract people.
Right.
Okay, I get the lighting, if you will, for a menu board, for safety of the patrons, and also obviously safety of them cooking inside. But we have seen trucks, when we Google this stuff, with different lighting on the outside, to kind of more like marketing to attract people. If we're looking at that, prohibiting that, then they just can't turn that on. But I just wanted to throw that out.
I think that would be more relevant to food trucks on the side of the highway. You know, I think what we.
Yeah, I
we're
agree,
talking
I
about-
agree. But, we have seen a food truck at the Oak Flower that had colorful lighting, if you will.
Do we want that? No,
Now,
no,
I'm not
no,
saying
no,
yes or no, I'm
not saying yes
I'm
or
just
no
bringing
either.
it out.
I'm just asking the question.
I mean, it wouldn't be such a bad thing, right? I mean,
it's
they're
up to
only
you.
there for a short time and
Yeah.
within certain hours, and they're kind of going again.
Now, M,
What do we call that in Hill? We're gonna allow Christmas lights.
in essence, that's what it almost looked like. But again, they're not setting it up on the walkway, on the sidewalk, or anything else. It's attached to the truck.
Decorative lights attached to the truck, is
Yeah.
that?
That's kind of, that's what it would be.
Okay, thanks.
So M, with temporary mobile retail food establishments shall not display any signs. I don't know how the committee felt about a sandwich board type of sign. Obviously, you don't want to have them put it out in the middle of the sidewalk, but next to the truck. A lot of these trucks do have those type of signs, whether they use it as a menu board or their name of it and a phone number or something like that. Again, I'm not recommending or not recommending. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't see an issue with a sandwich sign as long as it doesn't impede
One
foot
sandwich
traffic.
board?
As long as it doesn't impede foot traffic.
Yeah.
And I think you have that covered in the
Yeah, the other
other area, so
Okay. So one sandwich board, is that?
I think that should be fine. R. It's, food establishments shall maintain a 10-foot separation distance from any combustible object, including other vehicles. So if you're on the street and a car is parked behind or in front of the food truck, are we saying they cannot park there now? That we have to cone off a spot behind the truck and a spot in front of the truck?
And the propane gas on the truck?
So that's, and again, I'm not, emphasizing one way or the other. I get I get the idea behind it. Let me go back and I'm sorry, let me go back to G on page 3. Temporary mobile food, retail food establishments shall maintain a 20-foot separation from any building on site. So if you're in a private parking lot and want to park next to the building, there's no windows, it's just a concrete wall. Is there a reason why they have to be at least 20 feet away from that building? Is it the same philosophy for propane and that type of safety concern? I don't know.
20 feet's not very.
No, it's not,
space.
it's not.
But-
I agree with you.
Does that work, though, where the brewery is? I mean, is the truck gonna be closer than 20 feet?
Well, they've been parking in the they've been parking in the street.
The
So-
street right in front of the building?
Yeah.
And I think that's closer than 20 feet.
No, I wouldn't.
From
I
the
wouldn't think
curb
so.
to the,
door, front door?
Oh, yeah.
it's closer than 20 feet. That's not,
You think so?
yeah.
20 feet's not very far.
No, it's not.
Let's
I
say,
thought
for
it was
instance, let's say, for instance, if we're right,
I had this argument today, so.
and it's 10 to 15 feet, because that establishment's a little close to the sidewalk, if in my mind's eye. Brendan, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's a little closer.
It's closer.
Do we need to be that specific? Can we be a little bit vague and say a safe distance from
Well,
combustibles or something?
Then if the zoning officer goes and tells them you gotta move it, code enforcement officer, because it's not a reasonable distance,
Mike.
then it could be arbitrary. I'd rather have 10 feet if you wanna,
Mike,
Mike.
oh, I'm sorry. I'd rather have 10 feet, you know, than
I
just
think
an
10
open
feet
end.
might be more reasonable, because again, if the food truck's parked right out in front of the brewery, and that's only 10 feet from the from the curb,
Yep.
then we're defeating the purpose.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's gonna go out with a tape measure and measure,
Right.
but 10 feet, is that? I'm sorry, Megan.
Other than Megan.
Hey,
So
We'll
I
just
had
have
the
to do a
argument
class
with.
trip, obviously.
I'll pay more attention.
Yeah,
think
because
that's-
R, you have the 10-foot from any combustible.
Right.
So maybe you can collapse those into two, those two articles into one.
Yeah. For buildings.
And the last comment I have is under exemption with A for ice cream vendors.
Yes.
Would that include shaved ice trucks, Italian ice trucks, or something similar to that? That, I mean, it's technically not ice cream, but
About it,
same philosophy.
and how about, and similar vendors, type vendors.
How about just simply say frozen confection vendors?
Okay?
What do you
Why
read
would
a
that be?
thesaurus before you come to the meeting?
I do.
Frozen confection vendors. I wouldn't
What
have
is,
thought of that one.
does that include soft serve?
Soft serve?
Yeah.
Definitely
Is
not
that- is that
swirl.
frozen?
Swirl, what, is crazy? That it?
That's all comments I have for your consideration.
Okay, I will bring a second draft to the next meeting. We can talk about it further, see where we go from there. I'm talking into the mic.
Thank you, Jack. All right, so,
Next one is the special event.
yep. there we
Same
go.
idea. As I said, this one was meant in part to clarify what a special event is and to reflect current practices, current long-term practices that weren't consistent with the ordinance that we have in place now.
So Jack, where did you make the most major changes in this one?
Well, you know what, I've got everything. I could tell you, because I've got to track changes. Under the definition of special event, that's all new. And here, it's open to the general public, or as a private event with more than, and I didn't have a number, anticipated attendees, will generate a parking or traffic flow situation, requires the expenditure of municipal resources by DPW, Police Department, or Fire Department, and is proposed to take place at a municipal park or facility. And again, I put exceeding a number of attendees. And also requires Township Committee for those special events as defined in parks or other township properties. And it exempts township events. So the idea was, we don't care if you have a family reunion with 25 people, you know, at a park. But if you have 100 and it's going to require traffic direction by the police department and things like that, then you should have to get a permit.
In discussion with Randy, we also talked about adding the block party to the definition of a special event.
Sure.
Question on that. Do we rent the pavilion at Cantor?
There are field rentals there, yes. They would have to reserve that.
And let's say you had 50 people at a family reunion
Mhm.
at that, and they go through the process of renting it from the rec department. Do we want to, the fact that they went through that process with the rec department, could that exempt them from having to also do a special event permit? It would seem a little bit redundant.
There was a similar event last year, because I don't know if Lisa does require insurance for an event like that. So we did have one neighborhood beacon, I believe, that was a special event that we issued rental for the pavilion last year. And Lisa had them do a special event permit.
She did, all right.
And again, I think we should insert number of people. Again, if you're having 15 people, it's not really a special event. Should we add something, Megan, about if you reserve a facility with rec department?
I don't have to get involved? Sure.
No, I mean, that then you have to get a special event permit. If there's more than a certain number of people, you know, you can only use the pavilion or things like that with permission of the rec department, or rec,
Maybe consult
Director.
with Lisa before,
okay.
I'll talk with her and see what she
Yeah.
thinks.
Again, this is not gonna be ready.
Insurance is required, by the way, according to Lisa. We just made a comment, insurance is required.
Okay.
The next changes are that the current ordinance requires permits from all, or for all concessionaires, and the town hasn't done that in many years. So all I required in this draft was the names and addresses of all concessionaires and insurance certificates from them, as opposed to their having to go through the application process, which the current ordinance requires.
Yeah, that makes, I mean, that seems to make sense, Jack, right? Because you're adding a hurdle there that we haven't
Yeah.
really been
And it adds
keeping
a
to.
lot of
and-
work to the
right?
clerk.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I do think we should have certificates of
Certificates,
insurance from
yep.
them, or they're just not gonna be happy.
Yep.
Jack, I know that this has been discussed before, but the 60 days, I figured could go down to at least 30.
That's at the beginning, isn't it?
4-6.2, notification of a
Yeah.
proposed special event.
30 days, 6.2. Yeah, that's no change from the current. I got it. 30 days?
Yep.
Any other suggested changes, Megan or Randy or Township Committee?
We discussed, under the second page, under section 6D as in dog, within 30 days after the conclusion of the special event, the sponsored event shall provide the township administrator with an accounting of the event specifying the gross amount received, the administrative costs, and the amounts donated to qualified township organizations. To my knowledge, this has not been done, at least for 6 years. I don't know if we should eliminate that or
Well,
start making sure that these events are, because this is for somebody asking for a waiver for a payment of police coverage.
right. Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. It's up to you all. You know, I don't know how else we would verify.
You mean verify that
That they gave the money.
that they give the money? I mean,
That they didn't have to pay the police for their time.
right. I mean, other than one of these establishments just providing a letter, right?
Right.
Might be that without being too specific.
Well,
Would that suffice?
I mean, it doesn't require a formal accounting per se. It just says an accounting specifying the gross amount, administrative costs and the amounts donated. Of course, that's only, we should probably clarify that and make it clear that those, maybe we should move it down to 465A. That requirement, Randy? Because really, that's what it's for,
Yeah. Yep.
is the exemption from having to pay the police.
Move that whole,
That whole
all
paragraph
four of
E.
those, all four of those under that
Right.
paragraph?
Yes. Yeah, all of 6, really.
Right. And under the police coverage, just process-wise, for if the sponsor is not exempt, they must deposit with the township clerk an escrow deposit equal to 120% of the police department's estimate. I would change it to, if you will, counsel, something to the effect that follow the outside police duty procedures of the police department.
Okay.
Because they, right now, we have an outside company doing that
Oh, right.
they would contact and so forth. Or if it should happen to change where they collect it in-house at the police department, it'll cover anything for the current policies for the
Right.
outside police duty.
Do we require an escrow deposit?
The escrow company will determine that, and I think you could even pay them with credit card and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
That would,
but
so we're just
they-
taking out equal to 120% and just say in accordance with police department procedures? Or?
right.
Any other suggestions?
Under 4-65A, number 2, the names of civic, charitable,
Oh, yes.
and service organizations, can we just end it there and delete everything that's there? Because right now, I don't know what force is, but some of these organizations may not exist, or new organizations may come about.
Did Force change its name, Matt? Did Force change its name?
We changed that to Long Hill Education Foundation.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But wouldn't that be under education and affiliated
Yes.
groups as well?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So we can take out, it's up to you all, but the township committee's the one that came up with this list whenever.
Put in like the Girl Scouts and
Right,
Boy Scouts.
right.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to, as Randy suggested, just to take it all out.
And end the sentence after charitable and service organizations.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that
Because they're
would.
gonna have to provide the tax exempt.
yeah, right.
Can I,
This is all in there now, that's.
Right, right.
So we'll take it out.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure?
Use
It's just-
small words then.
It's confusing, right? This is confusing if you're gonna run a special event, and I get it, because we have to protect ourselves. What would be interesting to see, along with this, that we're working on, is what a sample form would look like
That's a good idea.
for the public, right? Because I think if you look at that, and you start seeing all the stuff we're putting in here, some of these things are gonna maybe get washed out, right? And for instance, like all these organizations, right, could be referenced on the form, and that could be a separate note that we update at a later point. But the idea would be to make this simple, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And because if you see what the form looks like before we actually pass this, and we say, look, we're just like creating this tangled mess,
Mm-hmm,
then that'll help us figure out what ought to be on this page.
okay.
And actually, Jack, do you foresee any changes to the form we use at the moment based on this?
Megan's shaking her head, yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
I don't like that form.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay.
So Megan can come up with a new form for
I'm
the
getting
next
used to
meeting.
it.
So,
and we can look at them together.
that's like an awesome idea, like maybe you could design the form
Yeah,
for what you see here and tell us if it's haywire.
Will do.
okay, I will come back with simplified versions of both ordinances, and we can talk about it further, both
Okay.
of them. Sound good?
Great.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
All right, old and new business. Seeing none, just a couple of announcements. The League of Municipalities has a scholarship for high school juniors and seniors to apply. The application is on the website, I believe, with a letter from me as mayor. There are $3,000 scholarships available statewide. Long Hill Township high school students have performed well and very well, in fact, recently in statewide campaigns. So the scholarship aims to advance virtues of elected and volunteer positions in municipal government while raising awareness of local government in general. If you want any additional information, Megan is available. And as I stated, the description of the program and the letter are on the township website. Again, it is called the Lewis Bay Scholarship. On Sunday, February 18th, there is a new store opening at the Speedy Mart, that's 1277 Valley Road. The business is Globo, Globo Party Shop. The grand opening is at 2 o'clock, Sunday, February 18th, so that's this Sunday. And Matt, could you repeat the venison dinner details?
March 9th, venison dinner, Sterling Firehouse, 6 p.m. start. Get there early. The food is great, and you can purchase a ticket from any member of the fire department. They have signs up in a bunch of different establishments in town for contact information. You can check their website and/or Facebook.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Any other announcements from somebody else?
No.
Okay, the meeting is now open to the public. Remarks and statements pertaining to any matter. Please limit your comments or remarks to 3 minutes.
Joe Ferrandino, 623 Chestnut Street. I do believe that anybody who showed up here tonight showed up to voice their complaints about this wasteful, another layer of government as far as this safety, whatever you call it, safety administrator, director, whatever. It's funny that the MRI report laid the foundation for this new layer of government that this town does not need. That if everybody that sits on this board had done the job that they were elected for, we wouldn't need a public safety director or anything else. Now, I want to thank you also by frustrating and aggravating me going over stuff about food carts and whatnot that I couldn't care less about, especially the part about the food cart not being near anything combustible. Last I heard, food carts carry propane. That's combustible. So after you wore down the clock, the real issue this evening, as far as I'm concerned, is this wasteful director's position, which I am totally against, which I'm sure the board here, the town council, will make sure happens because that's beneficial to the town council, not the people that live in this town. Jig is up, fellas. And Megan, we know exactly what's going on.
Explain, what's going on, Joe?
Political patronage, that's what's going on. You're laying the foundation to recruit people for your political agenda. That I saw this back in New York. That's all it is.
Megan, let me know when 3 minutes is up.
Yeah, no, I'm up already, guy. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Neil.
Hello. This is a little bit different from me, but I'm with Joe all the way on that, on the larger concept of the big issue tonight. I'm going to, and yes, it seems we are going to have a public safety director, and I'm just going to comment on the name itself, the term, the title. I think it fails. I think it's not accurate. It can be easily changed, I think. Everybody's reporting to the director, and public safety doesn't seem to be an accurate descriptor. In fact, public safety has some bad overtones to it. We're not there, we're far, far away from it, but they are Eastern European tones, and even one or two countries in the far eastern end of Asia. We don't want to go there. You know, little bad things begin with baby steps. We don't need this term. Why don't you go for it? Why don't you call this position police commissioner or police director? Everybody's reporting to him. That's about all I thought I would say here at the end, and I don't want to exceed my three. I don't want to exceed my 3 minutes. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's good
Thank
seeing you
you.
again.
Charles Serenowitz, Millington. I agree with my colleagues. I want to stay under 3 minutes, so I got maybe 3 comments and 1 question. Keep the question last. We've been without a police chief for 16 months. Why did we rush into a decision for a public safety director without pursuing the other options, 2 joint meeting or 3 shared services? Just a comment. Think about it. I agree, Mayor, with your comments tonight about supporting our police department. I think it's critical, and that they shouldn't be under some of the stress that's happened in New York City and the harm. That being said, when I read the police report, I was astounded that since 2016, no lieutenant in the police department has had a performance review, including the last 16 months, where this committee had the 2 lieutenants, or 1 lieutenant, or both lieutenants reporting to you. 2016, we went through 2 police chiefs in the township committee. We're so supportive of the police department, but then we don't give them a performance review? What could be more important to their careers? That's 8 years. Astounded. We spent more time tonight in the last 2 meetings on food trucks than we did discussing the police report. If you would have had discussions tonight on the second reading of the ordinances in your open discussion like you had with the food trucks, we would have loved that. But we got blindsided by it. Didn't get the report till 24th or 25th, then it was black and white. I couldn't read the charts. So where are the priorities? I am totally, totally confused on your priorities. Here's the question. We've had a magnetometer most of the last township committee meetings. Do we have a serious threat that is still outstanding in the municipal complex and or the township as a whole? That's the question.
I don't think we're gonna discuss public safety. If we put a magnetometer, or I should say a metal detector out there, there's a reason.
So we're under a terrorist watch. You know, the federal
Oh, I
government,
said, but okay.
the federal government comes down with those coded structures, and you're not going to tell us.
To be clear, that's not what I said.
Pamela Ogins, Millington. And I just want to repeat what Randy said. I want to shout out to the DPW. I was at Cantor Park before noon today, it was blacktop. I did not expect that. I really thought I would be dodging sections covered with ice. So amazing job, and they need to be commended for that, absolutely. One announcement you did miss, which I found out from my next door neighbor, is that if you didn't get your Girl Scout cookies yet, they're going to be selling them again on February 24th between 9 and noon at the Dunkin' Donuts. The food truck discussion, please, if we don't have a first reading, if we're sitting in the audience and we have nothing to compare to what you're talking about, do it in your executive session. We just sat there not knowing anything that you were referring to for over 20 minutes, and yet when we get up here, we are held to 3. So when it's something that we can't refer to, I know it's on the agenda, discussion of special events and mobile food trucks, but you're referring to drafts of ordinances that we have no idea what you're talking about. So please, could you move it to your executive sessions?
And we can't discuss that in private. Maybe we could have been a little shorter up here, I'll concede.
Why can't you discuss it in private?
Because it doesn't fall under anything that, well, I'll let it.
Yeah, we can only discuss personnel matters pending litigation.
But is that in writing somewhere that
Our
if you
clerk
have-
can
Public
explain.
Meetings Act,
So can you amend that if you
No,
have a
state law. It's
discussion?
state law.
But why then save it to the end and have public discussion and then have a discussion if anybody wants public comment, so we can go home while you come up with
You
your
know what,
first
ma'am,
draft.
That's a good suggestion. We could make the drafts available before coming, even though it's a discussion item and it's not an ordinance. I don't think there's any harm in releasing the.
No, as long as everyone understands
draft.
it's a draft and not.
So, I mean, I think that would satisfy what you're suggesting. If you had the draft, you would have had.
Right,
the
something to
ability
refer to. The only thing I cared about with the food trucks was that you didn't get rid of Good Humor and Mr. Softy. So, I just want to make sure that those are safe. Those are some of my fondest childhood memories. I'm sorry if I exceed 3 minutes, but that's emotional to me. So, once I know that's safe, I'm good with whatever you do with food
You
trucks.
can rest assured.
Thank you.
Thank
Guy-
you, Pam.
Frozen
Guy's gonna give
confectionery.
a checker speech on Mr. Softy.
Okay.
Karen Nyquist from Millington. I just want to clarify something. I was a little taken back by being queried on procedures at a session of a group that I'm with. And I just wanted to clarify that no matter whether a question comes up the session or it is received in writing or even a phone call into involved parties, all inquiries are responded to. All inquiries, either in writing or by a phone call by the appropriate person. I just wanted
But
to
not in
clarify.
public.
I didn't say that.
I think you did just say that.
No, I didn't.
You
I
said it-
said all inquiries, whether they come up in the session, verbally, somebody comes up and makes a comment, or it's received in writing by different parties in the group, or receive a phone call into respective parties. All inquiries are responded to. Now, whether at a particular meeting it can be responded to at that time because of what's requested, maybe there's needs data to be collected. Maybe they have to consult somebody in the organization that has more expertise in the area. But that inquiry will be responded to, either in writing or by a phone call. All inquiries are responded to.
But again, in the public meeting, if a question is asked, will it be answered? If I come to a school board meeting and I ask a question, will my question be responded to in public?
At that meeting.
Depending on what you ask. There are some simple questions that can be answered. There are some
I'm a
that
simple man. It would be a simple question.
come to a board meeting and ask a question.
As a member of the public, I will.
Well, aren't you our liaison?
I said I will attend as a member of the public and I will ask my questions.
Okay, very good. If you ask a question that can be responded to at the meeting by the
I would
people
like
that are there,
my question that I ask, I will like responded to in that public meeting. as we have done all night tonight.
If the person is there and the data is there or the information is there to be able to answer the question, it will be responded to. If that's not available, will have to be responded to later.
I can't imagine with a superintendent and a BA present, they wouldn't have a response that any question the public would ask, but that's okay.
They ask for a lot of data, it won't. It's gonna have to come after collecting the data. They don't come in with volumes of data in front of them, and even that would have to be looked at and to identify exactly what the person was asking.
What kind of data would require that type of research? Like what type of questions?
Some people might ask a financial question or a number of students doing this, number of students doing that.
You know the number of students in the K-8 district?
800 and, I think it's 61.
Okay, so that's not a,
No,
Question
that's what I'm
asked.
saying. It depends on what's asked. It's not,
all right, but, okay. Anyway, go ahead.
no, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Anybody at home?
Dennis Sandow would like to talk.
Dennis Sandow, Millington.
Speak up, Dennis, please.
Hello?
That's better.
During the discussion on food trucks, I think I heard a side discussion that the food truck would be allowed only if it did not conflict with an open food service within 200 feet that was actually open at the time. And then someone mentioned Millington Cafe was closed by the time the brew pub opened. Is all that correct?
And property owner.
Yeah, with consent, would be okay.
In addition to property owner's consent. So like the one in Sterling Fine Wines, if the property owners agreed to having a food truck there, they'd be able to operate, is what was discussed.
Okay, the reason I am bringing this up is to remind you that there is a Chinese restaurant only 100 feet away from the brew pub, and it is open until 9, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And so you should keep that in mind.
We're at the early stages, Dennis.
Say again?
We're at the early stages of discussing this ordinance and coming up with the details.
Yeah, maybe the 200 feet is excessive. Maybe getting the permission gives an adjacent restaurant owner the ability to restrict what you're trying to do. I would have brought this up during the discussion, except there was no public discussion. But it's important to remember that there's more restaurants in downtown Millington than simply the cafe.
Thank you, Dennis.
My pleasure.
Any others? Megan?
If anybody else on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.